Dark were the skies and chill was the wind as the land was covered in a veil of malice. Across the hill did ride a dread army of the night, cloaked in mist and fog, prepared to rain down death and destruction upon the land. And the people did crowd for a saviour, a noble soul to save them from their impending demise. Just as it seemed all was lost, in strode a mighty hero, clad in shivering metal from head to toe. Wielding a terrible broadsword, he did cleave his foes in two, smashing their ranks asunder with righteous fury. And when the day was done and the enemy strewn across the fields in pieces, the people did turn to the warrior and say, "We shall name this day in your honor. Speak unto us your wisdom." The warrior said one word that day: epic.
One man, one Murloc, one giant angry badger. This is Blue Plz. It begins now. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to Blue Plz here on WoW Radio with myself, TotalBiscuit. Welcome to a fun-packed show of fun. Fun is guaranteed, and in fact, fun is required. If you do not have fun, pain will ensue. Trust me. Fun is mandatory here. Okay, right, well, I've got a lot of things to come up in this show. First. Interview with the mighty Oxhorn coming up later in the show. 25 minutes of glorious Oxhorn. What more could you possibly ask for? You had the opportunity last week to submit questions in a thread on our forums, and those questions were taken into account. As many of them were asked as possible, and the interview is bundled up and ready to go, and I'll be playing that a little bit later on in the show. I also have the announcement of the winners of the Epic giveaway. Yes, I did just say Epic. Wonderful, fantastic. Yes. However, I want to do this a little bit different. Instead of simply announcing the winners right now, I'm going to go and do the rolls in-game. Literally, the loot will be rolled for. Now, right now, on the server Mazrigo, the PvP server in Europe, my home realm of awesome, I am standing on the roof of the Orgrimmar Bank. I am standing next to a Murky and an image of Archmage Vargoth. Yes.
The image of Archmage Vargoth.
Samples make me hilarious. You can come, roll a character, come and stand on the bank with me. And you'll be able to get to see the rolls live. There were a total of 50 people who submitted the correct answers, many more that did not. Shame on them, shame on them. So come along to Mazrigo EU, roll a Horde-side character, and run up to Orgrimmar and join me on the bank roof for the live prize draw a little bit later on in the show. However, lots of other things to come up, including Rap in the Forums, Nupcake News, and, of course, Ask the Murloc. Now, a concept I shamelessly ripped off Octel Hordak, which is coming up right after my show today. I'm going to call it
Second Wind!
Yes, I captured a gnome and forced him to do that under duress. Second Wind. Last week, I introduced a concept, a topic. This week, I'm going to round it up and see what other information we've managed to gather in the past week and carry the topic on. Continuity from one show to another. It's kind of like Lost, only this has a plot. Right. So, what did we cover last week? Last week, we talked about the Black Temple. Specifically, what did we know about the Black Temple? Our conclusion, at least at that point, was absolutely nothing. Nothing whatsoever. Couldn't find a single thing. This week, however, Blizzard, in their infinite mercies, have released some information. And it consists of 5 lines and a picture, which is a screenshot from in-game. So let's go to worldofwarcraft.com. Come on, sit down on my knee and read along. Let's read along with TotalBiscuit, the under development page on worldofwarcraft.com. you will see the Black Temple. Originally founded as a Draenei temple, this plot has been conquered and despoiled many times throughout the history of the Outland. Blah, 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 blah. Right, a little bit of lore and 4 lines of features, including... It's a 25-man raid dungeon, which we already knew. Explore an ancient site steeped in Warcraft lore, at which point we will proceed to butcher it by killing off one of the major characters in the Warcraft universe. Over and over and over again. Gain access to more than 100 new rare and epic items. Rare? Only rare? Where's me epics? Give me my purples. Including tier 6 armor sets, which we already knew. Choose your path through a non-linear level 70 raid dungeon as you make your way to face Illidan himself, who is sitting in a corner looking very upset. Choose your path. Like, choose your own adventure, those little books you used to get as a kid, where pretty much invariably you'd die in one form or another, no matter what you were doing. It didn't matter if it was choose your own way through your English degree, or choose your own pet budgie. Pretty much 9 out of 10 endings involved you dying horribly. True story. So, Warcraft lore. I'm not even going to touch it. I don't touch lore whatsoever. The concept itself is cool. It really is. It's a nice place to have a dungeon. It's like... I mean, let's look at, like, the Molten Core. Probably the worst place to ever put a dungeon. Completely and totally out of the way. Like, oh, the Molten Core, which no one can get into or out of. What a waste of time. It's not like it's directly threatening civilization, is it? Or Blackwing Lair, stuck on the top of a mountain. Fair enough, okay, I can live with that. That's where you'd probably put your home, although the sulfuric fumes are probably not particularly pleasant. They smell like eggs. Not where, if I was the Lord and Master of the Black Dragonfly, I would choose to put my home. Not acceptable. But, yeah, I can live with that. Okay, that's fair enough. Now, Anchorage. Anchorage is down in Silithis. Yes, Silithis. Silithist. That's fair enough. That's in a reasonable place. It was all blocked off, and that was cool. And Naxxramas, of course, in the Plague Lands, which is also cool. Although, were I him, I would go and maybe raise some little town like, I don't know, someone nowhere cares about, like Darnassus. Go and kill them. Kill them all, slaughter them. Genocide. And fun and kittens. Brilliant. Now, Black Temple, it's in a place where you would expect it to be. It's in the top level zone in the Outlands. It's a big friggin' temple, and it's huge. At least it looks that way from the inside. Now, that's not a lot of information to go on, is it? Well, I mean, we already knew Tier 6 was going to drop there anyway. It's pretty logical. I mean, where else was it going to drop exactly? It's not really rocket science. What interests me is choose your path through a non-linear level 70 raid dungeon. Choose your path. Okay. So what you're basically telling me is that it's completely different to every other zone that you've put in, at least so far, which is pretty much A to B. A to B. Which is fine, to be honest. That's cool, because in a dungeon there's not a massive amount to see. I mean, you can admire the scenery, but everyone knows why you're there. It's not like you're navigating a labyrinth in which one wrong turn may spell disaster. There's no element of risk in where you are within the dungeon. It's what you're fighting. That's what you're really concerned about. So, non-linear. Interesting. Now, what do we already know about non-linear dungeons? Let's have a look at the current raid dungeons. Non-linear. Zul'Gurub to some degree. Non-linear, yeah? You've got 5 bosses which can be killed in any order, and then you've got your end boss plus your optionals, yeah? That's pretty non-linear, I would say. You can choose your way there, although there are particularly logical ways which you would go. Let's see, Molten Core, for instance. Molten Core, completely and totally linear. A to B, to C, to E to D, all the way down to Mr. Majordomo, kill Majordomo, go kill Rag. No real optional bosses in there whatsoever. Unless you want to be absolutely suicidal and try and bypass Gar. Good luck with that. So, that's not non-linear, by any stretch of the imagination. Blackwing Lair, linear, completely linear. It's from the bottom to the top. You've got to go up there. You don't even have a choice in the matter. It's to the degree where you can't even get through to the second room without killing the first boss, and you can't get through to the third room without killing the second boss, and you can't get through to the next room without killing Broodlord Lashlayer. Yep, that's the way it is. It's completely and totally linear. Anchorage 20 and 40. Anchorage 20, yeah, relatively non-linear, but there's not all that many bosses in it. You've got to kill boss 1 and 2, yeah? Then you can go and kill a Syrian if you want and bypass everything else. That's not so much non-linear as lots of optionals. Yeah? You're still going to end up killing the boss which actually gives you the most loot, which is the one at the end. Anchorage 40, relatively linear with a couple of optionals. You're looking at Oro and Viscidius and the Bug Trio as optionals, and everything else you've got to get through. Don't really have a choice in the matter there. Now, Naxxramas is probably the most non-linear. But is it really? I mean, you've got 4 wings. You can take those 4 wings down in any order you choose. Once those wings are defeated, you get to go and do 4 horsemen. Once the 4 horsemen are defeated, you can then access Saffron's lair through the teleporter, if I remember correctly. Once you kill Saf, you can go and take Kel'Thuzad down. Now, just how non-linear is that? Because, I mean, non-linear indicates to me that you go from point A, and when you reach point B, well, then you can go to point C, D, E, F. But you're always going to end up at point G. You're always going to end up at the end of the instance. I mean, just how non-linear is that? It does make me wonder. I mean, wouldn't non-linear indicate that perhaps you choose your path and you take down one of several bosses as your end boss? I mean, it's like saying that, you know, Final Fantasy is non-linear. Final Fantasy is never non-linear. Final Fantasy is always a case of you go from point A to point B to point C, you go and defeat a final boss, but there's various paths you can take to it, but you always end up at the same destination. What is really non-linear? I mean, there's not a lot of non-linear games out. There really aren't. Because non-linear indicates that you don't reach the same conclusion, surely. That you're not led by the nose. Now, in my honest opinion, through Black Temple, unless there are multiple end bosses, which we know there aren't, because Illidan is the end boss, that would indicate to me that it is pretty dang linear, no matter how much you try and say, oh, it's non-linear, in the same way that Nax is non-linear. Yeah, Nax is non-linear to the degree that you can kill the wings in any order you wish, but you're still going to have to kill 4 Horsemen, Saffron, and then Kel'Thuzad in that order to beat the instance. Yep, you don't really have a choice in that matter. Okay. So, it does make me wonder whether or not non-linear is simply a term they're throwing around there. They're just throwing it out to say, hey, we're awesome. Or whether it's actually going to be non-linear to some degree, whether there is going to be several conclusions to beating the instance. It would be interesting to see. It really would. But the problem is, since they put Illidan up there as the Imber raid boss for Outland, how exactly are they going to work that? How is that going to function? It's difficult. It's a really difficult thing to do. I mean, can that even be done in design? Well, yeah, it can. I mean, to say the most non-linear boss fight that I could personally think of would probably be the Bug Trio. Yeah? Killing the Bug Trio in different orders gives you different results. But you can't have all 3 at the same time. Yeah? You can either kill Vem, Kree, or Yauj at the end. Yeah? Or you can kill Vem, Kree, or Yauj at the beginning. And you can kill Vem, Kree, or Yauj in the middle. That order determines, specifically the one that dies last, determines what loot you get. Now, that's about as non-linear as WoW raiding has ever really got. Because that's a conscious choice that you had to make, and you are denied 2 other choices. Non-linear, in my honest opinion, is about denying you an option. Yeah? You take a choice, and that choice has a consequence. Yeah? And that forever affects the rest of your story. The rest of the game, and in this case, the rest of the raid. So if you were to go and kill this boss, maybe this boss is no longer available to you. Which would make it interesting. They could make it non-linear that way. Say you've got 8 bosses plus Illidan, yeah? You can only ever kill 4 of those. Take another example of a game which, in my opinion, is probably the best example, because non-linearity is a concept which is very, very vague. Very vague, even in games. Games say, oh, this game is non-linear. But people say, well, you still go and do this and this and this. It's non-linear. Well, there is a degree of linearity in everything. There has to be. You can't have something that's completely non-linear, because it would just be random and completely inexplicable. That's not going to work. So what you need, what you actually need, is to take the idea of, yeah, you're going to have to go and beat that boss at the end, and then have as many different ways to do that which have consequences. I mean, there was a Saturn fighting game called Guardian Heroes. Now, side-scrolling brawlers tend to be pretty damn linear. This one had about 10 different endings, and it had 30 episodes, but you could only ever play 10 of them any given way through, yeah? That's non-linear. That's the non-linear linear game. That's about as non-linear as you're gonna get, without it being simply random and without form and void. That's really as far as you can go with raiding. If you were to do that, so say, well, let's just, replace the numbers. 30 bosses, you can only kill 10 any given time, and depending on which ones you kill, depends on what loot you get, and depends what your ending encounter is, because that's how it worked in that game. Yeah? That's a concept that, in my opinion, works, but I can't really see them doing that. But then again, I haven't seen it yet. They may do that. I would hope that by non-linear, they don't just mean Nax Ramus or Zul'Gurub, because that's not non-linear. You've still got the same objective, and that's to kill Kel'Thuzad, and you're still going to have to kill all the bosses to do it. You just do them in a different order, and that doesn't affect what loot you get at all. So, to be honest, there is absolutely no consequence to clearing the Plague Wing instead of the Necro Wing first. There isn't. There is no consequence to it whatsoever. Yeah? So, that's my idea, and that's the way that I think that non-linearity can be implemented. Coming up in the rest of the show, we have many other topics and features, including Ask the Murloc, Nubcake News, Rap in the Forums, and our Oxhorn interview, which will be coming up right after this. Now, I got a song sent in to me. It was very, very scary. It was actually composed by Mr. Mac Harbour Guy. He did a TotalBiscuit song, which is quite frightening. I am really, really scared.
Help! Help! I'm being repressed!
It's called Snacky 9000, and I'm going to play it right now for you. It's very disturbing indeed. Now, come along, come all to the As We Go realm. Come to Orgrimmar to the bank roof, because I will be rolling. Literally, I'll be announcing the winners of our amazing competition. You're listening to Blue Plz here on WoW Radio with myself, TotalBiscuit. This is Gravity Well with Snacky 9000. I'll be back right after this. Enjoy.
It's not brain surgery, it's just a radio station. Although we do mess with your head from time to time. From Tanaris all the way to Nomragon, this is WOW Radio.
Indeed, Snacky 9000 by Gravity Well, also known as Mac Harbour Guy. I am scared, terrified, and quite frankly bemused. You people! Oh God, did you see the bank roof in Masvigo, Europe? You still have time to come to the live prize drawing. Yes, if you submitted a correct answer over the past 2 weeks to my email address, it doesn't matter if you're there or not, I will still announce and roll for you. So if you're on a US server, do not worry yourself. However, there is a party going on at the bank roof in Masvigo, Europe. Go join Hordside, come and join the party. I will be announcing the winners after the Oxhorn interview. Yes, indeed. The Oxhorn interview is coming up very, 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 very soon indeed. And I do mean very, very soon. As in, it's coming when I can find the file which has mystically disappeared inside my SAM database. Total professionalism, here we go. Oxhorn, famed machinima maker, honoured in the X-Fire contest, and a very, very great, funny guy to talk to. Absolute pleasure to interview him. I'm going to play the interview for you right now. Now, if you have any comments on what's going on the show, themurloc@gmail.com is the place to email. That is themurloc@gmail.com. We've still got an absolute shed-load of stuff to come up in the show. Absolute shed-load, and I kid you not, including topics such as, are we going back to the way things used to be? Is PvE endgame the inescapable fact of World of Warcraft? And class balance, nerfs and rolls, less QQ, more pew-pew. And all the usual features. Coming up right now, interview with the mighty Oxhorn. You're listening to WOW Radio and Blue Plz. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. And feast upon your Oxhorn. You're listening to Blue Plz here on WOW Radio with myself, TotalBiscuit, and we have a very special guest in the internet studio, as it were. Ladies and gentlemen, may I produce to you the one, the only, the fantastic, the legendary Oxhorn.
Hello, I'm gonna go with the Derek from BBQ.
Yes, or something to that effect. Now, please introduce yourself and tell us who are you and what are you doing here?
I'm Oxhorn. My real name is Brandon Dennis, and I'm here because I was asked to come on, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yes, you were indeed asked to come on. Oxhorn, the producer of many machinima, multiple machinima as it happens. An awful lot of machinima, let me just put it that way. That's not all you do though, is it?
No, it's not. I do a lot of other things. I write a lot. I make some songs. I sing a lot, and I'm a full-time student.
Very good, very good. Now, before we continue on with the interview, would you like to give our listeners something to peruse, perhaps your website?
Oh, well, that certainly sounds like a good idea. My website is www.brandonmdennis.com, and on there you can find links to articles I write for my campus newspaper, chapters of short stories, or chapters of novels and completed short stories, poems, and, of course, my movies.
Indeed. That's BrandonMDennis.com. Check it out while you're listening to this one-of-a-kind interview. Now, let's assume that some of the listeners perhaps haven't heard of your work. Where did you get started?
Well, I guess the earliest I ever got to making something like this was back when I was playing Dark Age of Camelot. That was actually the very first massive multiplayer online RPG I ever played, and I came out with a short flash animation called Spears, Spears, Spears. And I basically took the Monty Python spam song, and because in the game there's a lot of really cool weapons, and my favorite one was the spear, and so I decided to have a collection of spears. And so I would go Spears, 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 Spears. And then, I never did any machinima for that game, and when I switched to World of Warcraft, I forgot how to do flash, and so I decided to just do machinima instead. And so the first one I came out with was a PvP laugh. And looking back on it, it's really simple, but it was fun.
Yeah, you kind of shot to fame, as it were, with the first X-Fire contest, where you famously released not one, but how many machinima was it?
Oh, I don't even know. Let's see.
I think it was about 6, wasn't it?
1, 2, 3. I submitted more than actually got approved because a few of them had music that I didn't compose in it, like Racing the Grim Totem, so it was a lot.
Yeah, and I think the first question would be, why did you come up with so many?
Well, at the time I was using Windows Movie Maker, which is a relatively simple program compared to others like Adobe Premiere, and I was a full-time college student, but I decided to spend all my free time when I wasn't studying and writing papers making movies just because I enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun. It gave me a chance to be creative. And so I just started coming up with ideas, and I made a whole bunch of them. And I figured the more that I put out there, the greater chance of me actually winning some sort of reward.
Yeah, that's not a bad way of viewing things. I mean, you do seem to be more prolific. I mean, you're one of the really big names in WoW Machinima at this point in time. We've got, we've got the old staples. We've got Rufus Cubed, we've got Mindflame, and we've got, of course, Tristan Pope and a couple of other guys actually making their way up there as big names in the WoW Machinima scene. You're up there, and yet you seem to be far more prolific than all of them. I mean, why do you think that is?
Well, I think one of the best compliments I ever received was that I was the best amateur machinima maker out there. And I mean, I spend a lot of time, writing the scripts and doing the voices and but I don't know. It's just I get into modes, like one time I'll be in a movie making mode or a writing mode, and then I have to finish it or else I can't move on to the next thing. So and that's what I'll do. If I decide to make a movie, I'll just sit down and I'll finish it until I move on to something else, which isn't very good if you want to get a college degree, let me tell you.
Well, yes, I think we all find ways to waste our time at college. I mean, that's just the way of things. But I mean, you did say you were using Windows Movie Maker to begin with. Was the simplistic methods that you use with Windows Movie Maker, did that help you produce more? Is there anything you've actually done to streamline your technique as you've gone along? Because obviously you've started to use more advanced programs. And what were you saying? You were using Premiere now?
Yeah, the last movie I made with Windows Movie Maker was Courting a Celt, which is actually a movie I made in Dark Age of Camelot for an Axe/Xfire contest. And I just realized that there were so many things I wanted to do that I could not do with that program anymore. And so I obtained a copy of Premiere, and I just sat myself down and forced myself to learn how to do it. And I'm not, perfect at it, but I can get around. And ever since then, I mean, I made Oxhorn Tells Off Xfire, and every movie past that has been with Premiere.
Excellent. Very, very good. Now, as far as the machinima community as a whole, you're obviously a big part of that. Now, how do you think that, what was the effect of WoW in general on the machinima community?
Well, there's so many people who play World of Warcraft that naturally there's going to be a greater pool of people that are going to, have the creative impulse to make movies like this. And so, the major split goes, you have all the people who go out and make PvP videos and the PvE videos, and then you have the guys who sit down and want to write a storyline. And that's what I do. I mean, the only PvP video I ever made was a PvP laugh, and even then it was so that people could look at me and laugh at me. Because that's half the fun of it,
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, World of Warcraft, I mean, all the people who make movies for World of Warcraft have incredibly bolstered the entire machinima genre itself, almost to the point where they tend to overshadow it, almost as if they're flooding the community with it.
Yeah.
Which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to follow up on that and actually say, do you think that perhaps this dearth, this entire, metric ton of new machinima, is it reaching a saturation point? Do you think it can continue to develop at this current speed?
I think it can, and I think even if it gets faster, I mean, because as people develop in their as people get better at making movies, it's just going to raise the bar for the next guy who wants to make movies. And the only thing that can happen is that machinima is going to get better. I mean, it can't get worse, right? Well, as far as technology goes, it can only get better because people are competing with each other now. And not only each other, but people outside of the World of Warcraft aspect of it, too. So...
Yeah, that's an interesting way of looking at it. I mean, would you say that the machinima community has actually had an effect on WoW? I mean, let's flip the first question over a little bit. Do you think that machinima has had a big impact on World of Warcraft, maybe on the success of World of Warcraft, or just on the community in general? Do you think it's enhanced it? And if so, how and why?
Yes, definitely. And I guess the proof that I'll put forward is, I mean, there are people out there who do not know what World of Warcraft is, and there's a lot more people out there who don't know what it is than we might think. And one of the top comments I get on YouTube when I put my moves up there is people will say, "Oh, that looked fun. What game is this?" And then I'll have to say, "Oh, it's World of Warcraft." And I'm like, "Oh, maybe I'll get it. I keep on hearing about it, you know." And so I think that machinima itself is an incredible advertising tool for World of Warcraft and Blizzard, because people see it, they see the kind of things that directors and movie makers can do with it, and they like it, and so they want to play the game.
Yeah, of course. I mean, let's be a little bit candid and say, do you think that Blizzard, at least at this point in time, is doing enough to support it, or are you finding now that external companies, third parties like Xfire, are actually pushing it for their own devices?
Well, Xfire has been absolutely wonderful as far as supporting machinima. I mean, they've hosted 2 contests so far. They had a pre-contest. They tried to do a commercial because they've realized that there are so many people out there who want to watch these movies that if they can get filmmakers to submit movies to their website, they're going to get a lot of hits. And, we have to give Blizzard credit, too, because they sponsored this last contest, and I believe they sponsored the one before that as well. And they've had their own contests, too, which I believe brought Rufus Cube great fame for Return,
Oh, yes, of course, yeah.
So they have supported the machinima community, and there are things that they could do that I'd like them to do, and there's a lot of things that they have already done and are continuing to do. So I really have very little to gripe about with them.
Great, excellent. Well, as you saw actually on our forums, we had a sack full of questions for you. So many that we could perhaps not cram it into this interview, but we're going to try anyway, and it'll be most epic. So I'm going to kick right into some questions here. There is a question thread on the forums. If you want to peruse it, you can go there. It's wcradio.com. Click the forums button at the top of the screen. Scroll yourself down to the Blue Plz show forum, and you will find the interview question thread. This is, of course, a pre-recorded interview, so you can't ask any now, but you can see what our lovely, lovely listeners have asked. So I want to kick right into some listener questions. Some quick-fire ones, if you will.
Sure.
What inspires you to keep doing machinima?
Inspires me to keep doing machinima. Well, the fun thing about machinima is that it's the closest to filmmaking that I'm able to get. I can't afford a good camera. I can't afford a crew. I'm a one-man team, more or less. And the nice thing about that is one man can get on one computer with a program and make something that looks good. And so it's just a really, really great art form that is cheap. The learning curve isn't too steep, and yet it gives you this great opportunity to make a compelling story or a great comedy and entertain people. And I've always just really been into the creative aspect of whether it's writing or making something out of carving or playing an instrument or whatever, and this is just a natural extension of that.
Yeah, I mean, to follow up on that, as far as machinima goes, were you influenced particular by any machinima producers, or do you draw your influences from other sources, such as perhaps novels or film work?
Well, I mean, the other machinima producers are just absolutely fantastic. I mean, some of my favorite movies that I've seen aren't even my own. I'm a big fan as well as a movie maker myself. But I started making these movies before I was really aware of machinima as a genre. I just, knew that you could make a movie on your computer about a video game, and I thought this would be great for me to be able to tell a story, so I did. As far as influences go, I think some of the greatest influences I have been literary, film, and music influences. Like Tolkien, of course, and then there's C.S. Lewis and G.K. Chesterton, and all the other filmmakers who's, I've got a stack of DVDs here in my DVD collection of all my favorite movies, and they've been, I can't even tell you how much of an influence they've been on me, because I probably don't even know.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, you did actually mention music there. There is a big musical element to most, if not all, of your productions. I mean, people are asking, is it you that does all of the vocal work in all of these songs?
With the exception of with the exception of Birth of the Forsaken, every sung piece in any of my movies are mine. I sung Hark Hear the Whales, and I sung the Anti-Elf Anthem, and the 12 Days of Winter's Veil, and The Great Kodo. And I basically, just sat down at my computer with a microphone and sang. That's all I really did. I mean, there wasn't really anything, fancy to it. I just found a microphone and sang a song into it and decided, okay, that sounds good. I'll make a movie about that.
Do you have a background in vocal work and singing at all? Is this something, a talent you've actually had to develop as your movies have progressed?
I never took any, major instruction. All throughout high school, I played trumpet until I was around 9, and then I wasn't involved in music at all. And when I got to college, I joined a choir, and one of the songs we did in my choir is actually the song used in Birth of the Forsaken, Verbum caro factum est, and that's a bunch of my choir buddies and myself singing that song. And I discovered then that I was a decent singer. I'm not good by any means. I mean, I've tried to take private lessons, and I'm not nearly as good as all that, but I'm all right with that, and I'm just really musically inclined to begin with. And I just think that music is just a natural, necessary aspect of good storytelling. Because, even a lot of the original stories we have were all relayed in lyrical form, like the Iliad and the Odyssey. They were all oral poems that were sung.
There does seem to be something of a Celtic theme going on through many of your works. Is there any particular reason for that?
I guess just because I like a lot of Celtic music. I stumbled upon the Irish Rovers one day and loved it, and so I've been trying to buy all their CDs, and I've listened to the Chieftains and the Medieval Babes, and I don't know, I just really like that genre of music. Plus, I'm a bit of Irish and Scottish and English anyway, so I guess it's just natural.
Yeah, one of our listeners actually asks, what was the song that you used in The Great Coda? Is that something you wrote yourself, or is that perhaps a parody?
No, that's actually the tune itself is based off of a traditional Irish folk song called The King of the Fairies. I wrote the lyrics myself, and I sang them myself, but the song, the actual music, is based off of an Irish folk song. And I've just really loved, pub songs and folk songs, and I just recently, on Wednesday, actually bought myself a whistle, trying to teach myself some of this stuff.
Okay, you know what we're going to have to do? We're going to have a live recital right now on air.
A recital? I don't even know if I'm really that good.
We know you can do it. We have faith.
Okay, well. Alright, well, maybe you'll be able to recognize this. I don't even know. I'll probably stumble. Let's see. Yes, see, it doesn't work when you sit down to try and actually do it.
It's the audience, isn't it? Come on, we know you can do it.
There you go. That's about as good as you're going to get out of me. I've only been playing it.
Indeed, go wild. Very good indeed. Right, well, let's talk a little bit about your novels, I know you wanted to actually get a novel published at one point, weren't you? What kind of themes do you tend to play on in your written work? Do you view it perhaps as more or less important than your machinima? Where do you draw influence on? What kind of direction are you aiming to take it in?
Well, as far as my fiction goes, I've been doing that far longer than I have been doing machinima. And, I love film, I love music, but I really do still believe that the written word is probably the best medium for expressing a good story. And so, while I love machinima, it does take a backseat to my fiction. And I've completed a novel, which I'm trying to get published right now. I've got a lady who works at a press reading it, and I don't know where that's going to go, but I do have high hopes, far higher hopes than I probably should have. But I just really love to write, and the nice thing about that is that you don't have to learn a fancy program like Adobe Premiere in order to do it. All you got to do is open up Microsoft Word and just sit down and tap away. So I find myself doing that much more often than anything else.
Excellent. Right, let's go a little bit WoW specific for a moment. One of the listeners asks, what's your opinion on the Burning Crusade expansion in general?
Well, everything I've seen about the Burning Crusade has just been absolutely fantastic. I actually haven't installed it yet. The reason for that being, I have just been completely preoccupied with work, with my classes, with writing. I just actually haven't played WoW all that much, and in fact, the past, 6 or so movies that I've made, I haven't even actually logged into World of Warcraft to shoot them. It's all been with WoW Model Viewer and WoW Map Viewer and utilities like that. So I mean, I hear it's a great program, and actually, I feel kind of bad about this, but I got my mom hooked on World of Warcraft a while back. And ever since then, she has just been playing it religiously, and she's actually got a level 70 priest. And
Really?
she bought the Burning Crusade, and she's got a flying mount. She's got, 5 or so different other mounts. And, of course, I persuaded her to get a Kodo. She's got 2 Kodos, by the way. So I'm very proud of her. And, she just, whenever I go to visit her, that's all we talk about is Burning Crusade. She's like, oh, the Burning Crusade is so great, I'm like, okay, well, maybe I'll play it one of these days.
Brilliant. I mean, you mentioned there, just to pick up on something, flying mount. It does seem to me that maybe a flying mount could be a very, very useful tool in perhaps the production of machinima. Could you see yourself using that as a sort of flying camera?
I don't know. That's a good question. Some of the limitations of flying mounts is that I believe you can only use them in the outland, if I'm correct.
Yeah, that's true.
So if I ever wanted to, do a flyover of Orgrimmar or something like that, I wouldn't be able to. Also, the versatility you have with using WoW Model Viewer and WoW Map Viewer is just unparalleled. There are things that you can do with those programs that you cannot do in the real world. That said, that people who watch these machinima movies, they want to see stuff that is shot in the real world. That's their natural inclination because it feels more real to them. So I think that a good machinima maker can use WoW Map Viewer and WoW Model Viewer as incredible tools in order to do things that they can't do in the real gaming world, but that the majority of what they do should be shot in the real gaming world. But, I haven't even done that myself because my account has been expired for nearly a year. That's probably something I should work on.
Yeah. I'm sure one of the listeners would be more than happy to buy you a 60-day card.
Well, I actually won a free year-long subscription in the last contest,
Really?
but they haven't given it to me yet. One of these days they'll give it to me. That's all right.
Right, I've got a couple of quick-fire general questions just to round off this interview. If you'd roll Alliance, would we have seen the Great Lightsaber?
Oh, heavens no. No, absolutely not. I'm sorry, I'm a Kodo purist. The little striders, the mechanical things for the gnomes, those are all right. The rams are pretty cool. Horses, but cats? Oh, I'm sorry. To all the cat lovers out there, no mean to hurt your feelings, but riding a giant cat, no, just doesn't work.
Well, you do seem to not. Let's just put it mildly. You're not really a massive fan of night elves, are you? Do you hate blood elves as much as you do night elves?
As far as my hatred of elves go, I am a complete purist. I hate blood elves just as much as I hate night elves. So don't think that I've got a double standard here. Anyone with long ears and is tall and slender and calls himself an elf, I hate you. Not the player, of course. Just the actual race.
Fantastic. What is your beard made of? Is it Kodo hair or Chuck Norris? That's the choices.
Kodo hair or Chuck Norris?
Kodo hair and Chuck Norris.
Definitely Chuck Norris, I think, yeah.
Chuck Norris? Absolutely. Well, what else have we got? Now, I've got a listener who asks, the specific scene, actually, I don't actually remember this one, so you might have to enlighten me. And he says, how did you come up with the whole, what have I done, I've killed a wabbit scene? It was quite frankly made of win.
Well, that's from Red Snapper at the beginning. And for those of you who are very well versed in cartoons, as I am, it actually comes from a Looney Tunes episode. It's when they did an opera, and you've got Elmer Fudd running around, chasing Bugs Bunny, and he has his spear and magic helmet. It's like, spear one magic helmet, yo-ho, yo-ho. And then when he actually kills Bugs Bunny, he goes, what have I done? I've killed the wabbit. But then I put in the oh well.
Yeah, okay, well there's the reference to Hammer and Magic Helmet then. Will we actually see more of the Tauren with his Hammer and Magic Helmet?
Well, the guy who played, that's Oxhorn, my actual character in the real game, and I actually use him in the majority of my movies, so you'll see him in probably a number of other movies I do. In fact, in Inventing Swear Words, he plays the guy in the blue suit. Oxhorn does.
Fantastic. As far as inventing swear words go, do you know anyone that actually uses those invented swear words?
Surprisingly, yeah. I'll go onto YouTube every now and then and read some of the comments people leave. And on Inventing Swear Words and Inventing Swear Words 2, people are saying, oh man, I use these at school all the time, or oh, me and my friends, we use these on camping or whatever. And I've actually found myself saying bloit every now and then. In fact, that's probably the one that I use more often than anything is bloit. Bloiting.
Well, are there any words that you've made up that you haven't shared with the wide world yet?
Yeah, well, I mean, I made a list of different swear words that I wanted to use, and I've narrowed them down to the ones that you've seen in the movies. But, I mean, I've got a script completely written for Inventing Swear Words 3, if only I can find the time to sit down and write it. And I do have some words saved for that one as well.
Fantastic. So, was that a little bit of a hint as to what we can expect in the future? What will we see from the Oxhorn Publishing House?
As far as what you will see, I can't tell you. What I want to show you, there's a lot. I mean, I've written 2 new songs that I'd like to turn into music videos, and there's 2 songs that I've sung in my choir that I'd like to turn into music videos. I've written a script for Inventing Swear Words 3, and at least the trailer to that I hope to get out maybe during spring break sometime. But no promises, no promises. Really? But the one I want to do most of all is the sequel to Racing the Grim Totem, because I do have a sequel for that written.
Fantastic. You'll have to get those songs over to us and we'll play them live on the air for our listeners.
Well, I have to sit, I mean, I've written them, and I know the tunes. I have to sit down and record myself singing them first.
We'll be waiting with bated breath, definitely. Now, as far as videos go, do you have a personal favourite?
Yeah. That would be Racing the Grim Totem. That's my personal favorite.
And why is that?
Well, it's very... I mean, I know it goes on a very popular theme, which is revenge. And, you know, I don't think revenge is a very healthy or good thing to do, but that's part of human nature is to want revenge. And that's why it resonates with a lot of people. I think it's the most, I guess, artsy movie I've ever done, but that's not why I like it. I like it just because it's a story about, you know, what someone does to approach loss. You know, it's about love and loss, and I just really like the theme to that one. So, plus, it's in black and white, and it's the only black and white movie I've ever done. Or sepia tone, actually.
Yeah, I mean, there's another thing that I picked up on, one of our listeners actually picked up on as well. You seem to include a shout-out to the Lord and Saviour at the end of every one of your productions. Is there any particular reason to that?
Yeah, I try to do that at the end of all of my movies, and on my page on warcraftmovies.com as well, which is a fantastic site, by the way, just to give them a little shout-out. Well, the reason I do that is... the reason I do that is because I'm a Christian, and, you know, I believe that you should give glory to God. I mean, I think it's 1 Corinthians 10:31 that actually says, in everything, you know, give glory to God in everything you do. And so hopefully I can give a little bit to Him in these movies that I'm doing.
Absolutely. I've got one last question before we wrap this one up. It's from Spirit Wolf. I think you know Spirit Wolf.
Yeah.
Yeah, Spirit Wolf is actually going to be interviewed next week on the show, which should be interesting to say the least. And he has a question. He says, an educated, upsmart chap such as yourself surely has a favourite type of tea.
A favourite type of tea? Well, of course I have a favourite type of tea, being so educated as I am. Tongue-in-cheek. Probably green tea. That's what I've been drinking recently, out of my ugly mug here. So yeah, green tea. Yes, it's a rumpf mug.
Oh, I was going to say, just how ugly is this mug?
It's very ugly. It's got a cross-eyed guy on the inside and a gremlin on... Or, cross-eyed guy on the outside and a gremlin on the inside.
Fantastic. Well...
So very ugly.
Thank you very, very much, Mr. Oxhorn, for coming on the air with us today. And what was your website again?
My website is www.brandonmdennis.com.
Check it out, folks. That's in order. This has been Oxhorn on Blue Plz. We're going to head over to a music break now, so stay tuned for just after the break. I'll have yet more scintillating and, quite frankly, rant-worthy topics to cover. Thank you, Mr. Oxhorn.
Thanks for having me.
Okay. To the music. Enjoy. And that was Oxhorn live on WoW Radio. Not so much live, but pre-recorded. I've got a bit of Nubcake news for you now, and I'm announcing the winners of the epic giveaway. Stay tuned. Nubcake news. Stop that. Welcome to this week's edition of Nubcake News. Coming up later in the program, a special report on the origins of gnomes. Were they really forged from pure, unadulterated, mana-enriched fail? Plus, additional generic, mildly amusing report that doesn't exactly exist, but was simply inserted for the benefit of the feature as a whole. But first, analysts have today released new and exciting confidential information about the brand new terror lurking in Shadowmoon Valley, known as...
the Black Temple.
Yes, I did say...
the Black Temple. Is
a place of unparalleled evil and danger where only the bravest adventurers may go to acquire minor upgrades to their already existing raiding gear. Many scouters sent into the instance have yet to return, but we managed to get one into the studio to talk about what we can expect inside.
The Black Temple.
So, what does the scouter say about its power level? The power level is in fact quite low. Illidan did not pay his electric bill. Half the lights are out. The TV only receives QVC. And there's a smell of rotten milk that echoes through the halls and passages like some kind of milk rotting. As I advanced through the instance, I passed many a generic trash mob. Fortunately, since the instance has not been implemented as of yet, the mobs have no aggro table and thus ignored me. They were sat around playing cards, and one was even seen writing a protest letter to Illidan himself, which read, "Your temple is on an incline. Angry trash mobs cannot play skittles." As I advanced into the dungeon, I encountered several cunning traps, including Pit of Lava, Pit of Fire, Pit of Flame, and Pit of Angry Mice, all of which I deftly avoided with the agility of a cat form and the cunning of a murloc. I was confused to discover that there was in fact no bosses as of yet, only placeholders for bosses, large pieces of floating and possibly demonic paper, which included a list of abilities and descriptions. I was able to produce a copy of one of these to show you today. It reads, Boss number 7, Evil Guy the Something Breaker. Has 2 ads, must be tanked near the plume of smoke. Since there are no classes that can actually tank at this point in time, with druids being nerfed and all, the boss will in fact simply stand there and allow you to hit him. He has 2 ads, which will mind control each other. This must be purged to avoid embarrassing confusion and possible social security issues. As I ventured onward into the instance, I encountered 12 other placeholders, which all contained the phrase, 2 ads, tank and spank, absolutely 100% original reskins of Molten Giants and Elementals, a huge challenge. Finally, I reached the throne room itself, where I came upon the only functional boss in the instance, Illidan himself. The encounter appears to go as thus. Illidan stands in the center of the chamber, rooted in a pool of his own emo tears. He cannot directly attack anyone that is not in melee range, so position your tank in front of him. He has a ranged AoE called Cry Cry of Illidan, which will cause all those gods in the blast to sit down and knit cardigans for 20 seconds. This is especially dangerous for the priests, who really should not be wearing cardigans. It makes them look quite silly. At the 3-minute mark, he will trip over and fall face first into the pool, submerging and spawn 8 Sons of Emodin, which will cast Drain Patience on random intervals on your tank and healers, causing them to hearth out in disgust. After these ads have been defeated, Illidan will emerge, pull out a small battery-powered hairdryer, and dry himself off. He is immune to all damage during this time, and that buff will last for 3 hours, at which point he will claim it is not yet his time, and wipe the raid. So, an intriguing and original counter, you say? Absolutely, Blizzard has really excelled themselves this time. I can safely say that we are not prepared. Ha ha ha! How droll. This has been No Cake News. Good night.
Primed for action. Torqued to the breaking point. And fueled by 3 gallons of Noggin Fogger Elixir. This is WoW Radio.
Yes, indeed, you're listening to WoW Radio, you're listening to Blue Plz with myself, TotalBiscuit. The Oxhorn interview, a mighty, mighty thing. That's BrandonMDennis.com. Check out all of his work, it's very good indeed. I've got a couple of Oxhorn songs and skits coming up a little bit later on in the show, and you just heard the sound of Nubcake News, and that is in fact the Black Temple. Yes, the Black Temple. So, right. I suppose I better do that prize draw before Mazrigo crashes. Right. You guys are misbehaving, and I disapprove of everything you do. There we go, disclaimer out of the way. Right, okay, I have 50 correct answers in my inbox. There are 10 prizes in total. Yeah? There are 2 WoW European Collector's Editions. There is a Turtle Mount card. There is, as kindly donated by Mr. Deus X, a $50 character portrait at the Painted Axe. And 2 WoW time cards. There are 2 WoW TCG starter packs. And for the runners-up, there are 4 WoW Radio limited edition comedy collection CDs, which I have in my hand right now, signed by the Murloc. Indeed, the Murloc. So, I'm going to do this prize draw right now before things get completely out of hand. So let's get on with it. 50, and I will roll between 1 and 50. Once, of course, I've eliminated 1, I'll go to 1 and 49, and I will announce the name that you have given on your email. And those people will be contacted, and we will sort the prizes out between them. Okay? That's it. If you're in the last 4, you get a runners-up prize. If you're in the first 5, what we'll basically do is we'll give someone the first choice, then the second choice, then the third, and I'll email them about it. So, without further ado, let's get on. The answers to the epic giveaway. Question 1, I believe. What were the colour of the pantaloons? The answer is orange. Question number 2. What spells do shamans hate? That is counterspell. Number 3. Which drawer does Mr. Chris Metzen keep the Outland in? That is the 3rd drawdown. Number 4. What is the colour of Archmage Vargoth's beard? Now I will accept orange, ginger, and brownish. And number 5. Where did I take Archmage Vargoth on holiday? The answer is Oshigan. 50 people got that right. 50 out of those who entered. Time to do some rolling. Now, the first prize winner. Number 46, which is Mr. Claes Peterson. Well done indeed. Claes Peterson, the winner of the top prize. I shall be emailing him momentarily. Okay, second one. Random 49. Number 21. Oh god, I'm going to count all these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Oystein Bergenes. Number 21 is the winner of the second prize. Congratulations. Here we go. Let's see what else we've got. Number 16. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. John Zeepvat. John Zeepvat. Well done. Third prize winner. Here we go again. Let's see what else we can get. Random 47. Number 33. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20... 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30... What was it again? I can't recall. 33? You spamming fools. 33 is someone called Mini Steve. Well done, Mini Steve. Let's get the rest of these out really quick and fast. Random 46, number 20 on the list. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I really should have numbered these. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Andrew Morris, congratulations. Now, a couple more to go. Number 21. That is, in fact, Johannes Ekberg. Well done, Johannes Ekberg. A couple more to go for you. Number 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Brendan Burns. Brendan Burns, well done indeed. Couple more. Number 8. That is, let's see. Check the email. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Someone who goes by the name of Zeozis. Oh, that is really, really, really difficult. Zeozis, well done. Well done, Zeozis. Two more. Two more to go. Number 17. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Chris Johnson, well done. A runner-up prize for you there. Number 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Andras Zuxan. Well done on a runners-up prize. So how many have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And that's the lot. That's all of them. Those 10 people Andres, the non-particular order, I'll sort the order out after the show when I email you all. Claes Peterson, Minnie Steve, Johans Ekberg, Andrew Morris, Chris Johnson, Oyston Berkens, Jean Zifat, Brendan Burns, Ziozis, and Andras Zuxan. Congratulations. You win prizes. I should be emailing you after the show. Okay, I'm done. I'm getting the hell off this realm. Because I'm being given copper and being molested by fanboys. Quick, log out! There we go, I've escaped the madness. Right, so let's get back on with the topic, shall we? Now, the topics for this week, there are many and varied. Let's see what we've got in our email box as regards to our topics so far. Wow, I have far too much content for the show. It's great, it's going to overspill into the next one. What else have we got? Now, Andrew Dixon emails, following on from last week's show. The news has suddenly sprung up. Yep, we're aware of that. John Collins actually emailed in about the public test well notes, which I am about to cover. I'm going to read this one email and then discuss what I call less QQ, more pew-pew. Blatantly ripped from a meme on the forums. Now, public test well. Now, John Cullen says this. What annoys me is that they still refuse to give the priest class some form of viable survivability. Power Word Shield, it's gone in one strike. Priests are the most fragile PvP healers. They're with no way to attempt to save themselves in an emergency. Paladins have their bubble and their heavy armor, Shamans have mail armor, and Druids can switch to bear form. Both Shamans and Druids can also nature swiftness themselves for big, uninterruptible heals. Priests have nothing. They... What else is that? I can't even read what that says. Yeah. We've got Prayer of Mending. Then we got Prayer of Mending, and by spamming it on ourselves we could stay alive, maybe, but it was better than nothing. By taking that away, it shows, in my opinion, that Blizzard are saying Paladins are the PvP healers and that Priests should spec Shadow if they want honour. From a PvE perspective, it seems stupid to ruin a perfectly good spell for the sake of the game, which is an afterthought and only exists in the way that it does today due to considerable posts asking for more structured and rewarding PvP. Right, so this kind of outlines what people will actually say regarding balance, yeah? And, of course, the natural response is less QQ, more PPU. Now, just how valid is that particular statement? I mean, we're looking at nerfs. The big nerfs we've got this time. We've got some nerfs to priests, particularly shadow spells and, of course, Prayer of Mending. The huge nerfs go out to druids. Particularly, druid tanking has been nerfed into the ground, or so people will claim. So let's actually have a look at those public test roll notes. Let's try and pull them up right now. Let's see what we've got on wow-europe.com. Probably very, very little. Yep, wow-europe.com has no useful information whatsoever. That is no surprise whatsoever. Let's go to worldofwarcraft.com and see what we can see. Again, absolutely nothing. Brilliant. Let me try and find these public test roll notes. So basically what's been happening on the forums is you've got huge whines, huge threads about druid nerfs particularly. And, I mean, it's not really surprising, because the nerfs are relatively large. Test realm patch notes. Google for the win. Haha, there we go. Test realm patch notes. Right, nerfs to druids include... Bear form now grants 25% increased stamina instead of 25% increased health. Some people might think that that's better, but actually that's a nerf. Dire bear form now grants 25% increased stamina instead of 25% increased health. In addition, the armor bonus has been reduced from 450 to 400%. The multiplier on base weapon damage for Mangle Bear has been changed from 130 to 100%. In addition, the bonus damage has been reduced by the same ratio. Savage Fury no longer affects Mangle Bear. Savage Fury no longer affects Maul or Swipe. The critical damage bonus on Predatory Instincts has been reduced. And improved leader of the pack can no longer get critical heals. The armor bonus for Moonkin has been increased to 400. The rage normalization equation has been adjusted to grant more rage. So, you're looking at what's been nerfed, yeah? The aggro gain you're able to get from Mangle, yeah? Because the bonus damage has been taken down. And, of course, the aggro gain for Maul and Swipe, because Savage Fury doesn't affect it. The armor has been nerfed, and the health has been nerfed. So, relatively major nerfs. I mean, if that happened to a warrior, of course, everyone would be up in arms and like, what the hell? The warrior's a tanking class. Why are you nerfing its stamina? OMG, I quit, you suck sauce. Now, that's the kind of thing you'd expect. But the reactions are really, really rather crazy. Now, I'm going to go to the WoW Europe forums to see if I can track this thread down. I saw the best thread, which pretty much epitomises the point I'm going to try and make, which no doubt some people will not like. And boo-hoo, I do not care. Because if I gave you all opinions you loved, well, that would just suck, wouldn't it? Who is... Aha, yes, the amazing thread. If druids don't tank, who will? OMG! If druids don't tank, who will?
Help! Help! I'm being repressed!
Yeah. I mean, that's great. We all know that up until now, druids have been much better tanks than warriors in 5-mans. Better DPS and better crowd control, but what now? Well, here's the start. 5-mans don't matter. Sorry to tell you this, but 5-mans are pretty much irrelevant. They always have been. They're pre-end game, yeah? Even heroics haven't closed the gap, because let's face it, we're going Karazhan. We're going the Eye now. Congrats to Nihilum for taking down McFerrin. They're now, of course, wandering their way into the Eye. We've got Serpent Shrine, and we have, of course, Guzzler, yeah? All this stuff, and then we've got the Black Temple and Zolaman and whatever the hell else they want to throw at us, and that's the end game. 5-mans are not. Heroics are things that you can pug if you have a really, really good pug. And as far as I'm concerned, if you are pugging raid instances, then that raid instance is too easy or too old. Okay? Now, he goes on to say this. I guess many people are really happy druids got nerfed, but what about when you don't want to do a 5-man? Less druids will be there to fill the role, so you need warriors. But warriors haven't been buffed much. Oh no, warriors haven't been buffed much. Like, let's see. Warriors. The rage normalization equation has been adjusted to grant more rage. The typical warrior should see an increase of 15 to 20% in their rage generation. 15 to 20%! All warriors have had their critical strike chance adjusted slightly, about 1% extra crit for nothing. The cooldown on Victory Rush has been removed. Thunderclap is now usable in defensive stance. An Unbridled Wrath has been modified so that rather than a fixed chance to grant rage, has increased chance when using slower weapons. Wow! Buffs to warriors. Yeah, because warriors have never been buffed at all. Sorry to tell you this, druids. Now, I like druids. I have 3 in my guild. I think they've got great utility, but they'll never replace a dedicated class. A Moonkin will never replace my mage. Yeah? A Tree of Life will not replace a Holy Priest. To some degree, because while a Tree of Life is a great healer, it doesn't quite have the utility. A Bear Tank will never replace a Warrior. Was it ever even to be that way? If you're a hybrid class, should you be better? I mean, let's take a look. Hybrid classes, yeah? If you had a hybrid class in Dungeons & Dragons, you'd naturally be weaker than a dedicated class. If you had a bard, for instance, you'd be a jack of all trades, master of none. You could do all this cool stuff. You know what? I'd love to be able to tank. I frequently try, and it doesn't work very well. Let me tell you that way. Yeah? I'd love to be able to heal. I can't do that outside bandages and pots. I'd love to be able to shift into a bear form and go and do melee damage. I can only shift into forms when I go into Shadow Lab and spell steal the Core Hound buff. And run around pulling aggro and wiping my group. No, that never happened. Definitely not. Apologies to Blue Plz group in Shadow Lab. I'm very sorry. I couldn't help it. So, yeah. And he goes on to say, seems like druids were filling a hole in the TBC class makeup. There was a real shortage of tanks. If druids aren't there to fill the gap, then what? And it's like, all warriors want to go DPS. That's great. But if you're in my guild and I tell you to tank, you're gonna bloody well tank, like any other sensible goddamn guild. It's like, you wonder why you're not Nihilum, or Curse, or D&T, or Risen, or any other number of fantastic guilds. Oh, I wonder. Yeah, because you're doing what you want instead of what's beneficial to the guild. Oh, good lord, what an insane idea that you have to spec into something particularly to be good at it. Wow, that is ridiculous. I am absolutely shocked by that. It's inconceivable. Absolutely ridiculous. Of course you have to spec that way. Now, I've got a lot of sympathy for hybrid classes because they have got the shaft. At least they did get the shaft. Back in Legacy. Yeah? And when I said Legacy, I mean the old World of Warcraft. In the Outland, they've got a whole lot of buffs. They are very, very nice. Enhancement Shamans have something of a use. Shadow Priests have something of a use. Feral Druids, Moonkin Druids, Healing Druids, Druids, in my opinion, got the biggest buff of them all. But it was getting to the stage of being ridiculous. Seriously, when a hybrid starts out tanking a dedicated tank class, that is wrong. That is a game balance issue. Good lord, get this into your head. I don't hate druids, I just hate the fact that, well, that's just stupid. I mean, why should you think that you would be able to out-tank a dedicated class? It's like a Moonkin Druid expecting to be able to out-DPS a mage. You shouldn't be able to out-DPS a mage. And the reason for it? You can shift out a Moonkin, I can't shift out a mage. Any opinions on that? Email the Murlocs at gmail.com. I've got the last 20 minutes of the show. Good lord, we're rushing this week. Rapping the Forums coming up right now. Good Lord in heaven. Check the IRC channel for the threads. Yo, 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 faux shizzle, my naga, and so forth. You're listening to Rapping the Forums here on WoW Radio, yo, 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 yo-yos. All over the place. They're all over the floor. It's a complete mess. Right. This week on Rapping the Forums, dog, we have druids. Not entirely surprisingly. I mean, this thread's great. It sounds fantastic. It's called Blizz, will you lose more than druid dolls, yo, and stuff? Yeah, pretty much. It's from Zythos. He's from the Utopia Guild, and he's got an umlaut. Yes, umlaut is very ghetto. He's from Lightning Hoof, US realm. Quickfire. Yo, here we go. 2, 3, and a 4. I play about 10 hours a week. I quit once before because there was no point in playing a druid endgame if you don't want to be a heal bot. I was a founding member of a large guild who wanted me to respect to heal, only normal hybrid. Just heal, not worth re-rolling. I'm leveling up to 60 again. After the release of 1.8, a friend called me about the changes, and they came back. Wow, I can get a group, but now I am no longer in the big guild. Thank God I have both here and feral, so I can get instance pugs doing anything. Is it a pain to have 2 60-spot bags full of gear at all times, so I can feel the roll if I need to? Yes. Is it expensive? Yes, but the rewards, not only to myself, but the community, was substantial. Funny welfare was viable. I don't mind healing as much. When healing is the only thing I can do, I just won't play. I can't count the number of times I've spent 3+ hours in the cache for an instant with 4 people, knowing we could take any other class and we would be okay because I can tank, heal, or DPS, and I was still waiting 3+ hours on the days anyone was doing instances on my server. Druids don't want to be heal bots and are going to leave /reroll. Again, priests get another nerf, while palies and shamans just become heal bots because there aren't enough priests and druids left to do the job. Without the druids' flexibility, everyone is going to have long cache times. For instances in the under 70 endgame, now more time waiting equals less fun, more people quit. ... It is a vicious cycle. Reroll? ? Sorry, I am not one of those people who can level back up to 65 in a couple of weeks. No way. I'm going to spend 60 to 90 days getting to 70. For one, at this point, I have looked at the numbers, comma, I'm sorry. Druids will no longer be an acceptable substitute for a raid situation. And no, it isn't just my $15 a month, and this will cost biz. I said biz, my opinion represents the same feeling as thousands of others. I hope Blizzard enjoyed the million+ surge in membership. Over the last couple of months, they are going to be faced with a horrible backlash in the coming months. Post-edited by Zythos.
Objection!
It's over 9,000!
Yo, one now. Druids need a new form. As you druids would know, if you know the restoration or balance trees at level 40, you have the option of having a whole new shapeshift to play around with, but looking more carefully at this, I realize something. The feral tree does not have its own shapeshift. Why would Blizzard leave feral out in the dark? Well, I'm not sure personally, but here's what I think should happen. Now, hear me out before you start clicking that post message button. At first, I thought that since bear form is upgraded at level 40, why not cat form if you spec feral? But then I thought that would be a tad predictable, so then I thought of a new animal, something swift and cunning, yet graceful and cold, holds something in its hand. And then it came to me, octopus, a druid at level 40. If the spec feral should get octopus form, how cool would that be? But the problem with that is that octopods, proper noun, aren't very agile on land. So I thought, what is agile on land? Motorbikes. If you put an octopus on a motorbike, you have everything covered. So I quickly opened Photoshop and made what I think octopus on motorbike form shapeshift would look like. As you can see from this artistic rendition on the Druid's enhanced DPS form, he sits nice and snug on top of his motorbike, which is part of the form and not put separately. And the idea works. You will notice that since Octopus on the motorbike form has, as you would expect, 8 tentacles, it is able to hold the 2 main hand weapons. Since an octopus has no main tentacle, there's no need for 1 main and 7 plain swords. Also in this picture, you will notice that Octopus on the motorbike has 8 different enchants on each of his swords, so he's ready for any type of fight. The radius of attack, or as like to call it, the Octopane radius, is about 10 yards around Octopus on a motorbike, since his tentacles are, as you can see, quite long and stretchy. Now I all know how awesome you think my shapeshift idea is, but for the sake of it, let's have an example of what Octopus on a motorbike could do. You're grinding away in contested territory. You're tired, you're not paying much attention to what's going on, you're just grinding, grinding away. You hear a strange noise, one that is foreign to WoW. You shake it off as nothing and continue to kill mobs. You hear something again, and you turn your camera around to see if you can locate the source of the noise. There seems to be nothing there. You turn the camera back around to see a mix of colored enchants, sea creature, and machinery, and you're dead before you could even comprehend what just happened. And that is how I envision Octopus on a motorbike. That is what the Druid needs. Post-edited by Cyrega. Yo. Here's a little something that Oxhorn prepared earlier for me. It's called the Anti-Elf Anthem. Enjoy.
Of all the men of Azeroth, I must say that my least favorite race is the elf. I'd rather have lunch with a fat ogre than to spend 1 moment with an elf. I'd rather take a slime to a homie pub than to toast to an elf's health. They're tall and purple and all too skinny, and of this you must be sure, that elves are the sickliest things around, and sadly there's no cure. Oh, stay away from those crooked elves that look like women and they smell like hell. So if you would take my sound advice, keep a distance of at least 10 feet. I'd rather go fishing with an Ixia than to go fishing with an elf. I'd rather go swimming with a dead Murloc than boating with an ugly elf. Their voices are femme and they don't resemble men, their bodies are void of hair, and so I'm sure you can understand why they give me such a scare. Oh, stay away from those crooked elves that look like women and they smell like hell. So if you would take my sound advice, keep a distance of at least 10 feet. Despite my better judgment, I once went camping with an elf. He stole my s'mores and dented my pots and made the campground smell of lavender and rosebuds, such nasty smells they be. So I went and threw him into the lake, and then I went and had some tea. Oh, stay away from those crooked elves that look like women and they smell like hell. So if you would take my sound advice, keep a distance of at least 10 feet.
All the fun of television without those annoying pictures. From Ratchet to Winter Spring, this is WoW Radio.
Yes, indeed, folks. The action-packed show that is Blue Plz here on WoW Radio with myself, TotalBiscuit. Good lord. So much stuff to fit in the show, and I've got 12 minutes to do it. I've still got to ask the Murloc shout-out and my ending topic for the week. It's not even possible, not even as fast as I speak, to do all of this, but I'm gonna try it anyway. Why not? Oh yes! Let's see what else we've got, and let's see what else we have today. I want to quickly cover some content. Very, very, very quickly, now I'm going to ask the Murlocs, and then I'm going to go straight into shout-outs in some kind of compressed manner. So let's get on with it right now. Yeah. Right, the topic. My ending topic. Feel free to email after the show all week for your opinions on this, and I'll round it up in Second Wind next week. Yes, I did just say...
Second Wind!
So, Second Wind next week will be... Are we going back to the way things used to be? Is PvE endgame the inescapable fact of WoW, and is that acceptable? I mean, we're seeing right now the big content development as we expect. More big dungeons, more 25-mans, more epics, tier 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, tier 9,000!
9,000!
Yes! Tier 9,000. Yeah. So, Is that the inescapable fact? We've seen the whole thing about the arenas, and the conclusion we came to is, while it's a good stab at making PvP something permanent and worthwhile, and something sort of kind of on the level of PvE progression, you don't see people's websites going down when they go, "Oh my god, Magtheridon world first," and you're Eki and you missed out on rolling on the trinket because you were too busy shouting in IRC. Good game! Indeed. So, is this the inescapable fact? Well, I'm gonna pretty much push the boat out, and I'm gonna side on the side of yes. Because that's what it's been like. Endgame, well, for the past 2 years has been raid, raid or die. Raid or die, and this is kind of what it's becoming again. Why not? Why not? Because in my honest opinion, that's what WoW does best. Really, that is actually what WoW does best. Raiding, instances, they're all amazing. That's what people get, psyched up over. People are like, well, why do you grind this for this? It's because there needs to be a continuing challenge. You get the gear from this instance to progress to the next one, to the next one, to the next one, and you could keep doing that pretty much for all eternity, and people would still do it, because they love the challenge, they love the acquisition of gear. It's the essence of what an RPG is built on. It's built on the acquisition of gear and the killing of really big, nasty things. That's an RPG, in a nutshell, right there. That's what it's all about. And in my honest opinion, that's pretty much the way it's going to stay. And I think, to be quite honest, that's the way they want it to stay. And I say, good on you, Blizz, because that's what I want to see. If you want to expand PvP, then feel free, but bear in mind what kept people playing WoW for 2 years was not PvP. Generally speaking, it was PvE, endgame, instances, raiding. That's what people get excited about, that's what people get psyched up about, and that's what you spend your development time on, and rightly so. Rightly so. That's going to be my topic for next week, in Second Wind.
Second Wind.
That's what's going to happen next week, so email in over the week. If you're listening to the archives, then good game you, or you can email too. It's always good. You have been listening to Blue Plz here on WoW Radio. I'm going to play Ask the Murlocs, and I'm going into shout-outs, so feel free to email me right now and PM me for your shout-outs. TheMurloc@gmail.com is the place to email, or PM me on IRC, that's irc.mmorc.com. My name on there is TB, what appears to be some kind of dash / hyphen apostrophe type thing on the air. Just go to the # or # WoW Radio channel. Or go to our website, wcradio.com. And just before I go on to Ask the Murlocs, I must thank everyone. Blue Plz is now sitting at 410 digs. Yes, 410. That's fantastic. We want more. We would love to have some more. Remember, dig is a promotional tool and a democratic tool, so go and dig some other podcasts. If they're ours or others, we don't mind. Go and dig them, because that's what it's for. If you find a good podcast, go and dig it. Because if you don't, then the digs disappear within 2 weeks, so don't you dare just go and dig my show. Go and dig other people's, like, say, Mogarmy. Mogarmy.net. The MOG Army, fantastic podcasters, and we are promoting them right now, and they're promoting us, and we love it. We love Mog Army. They're awesome. Ask the Murlocs time, and then shout-outs coming up right now. Enjoy.
Ask the Murloc.
Ernest, you blooming butler buffoon, bring me the blood of the innocent. Yes, I would like a twist of lemon. No, that's a cocktail glass. Bring me the crystal champagne flute, you uncultured dolt. I tell you, it is impossible to get good minions these days, You, 2 minutes late for your appointment? Current fear, foolish mortals, but it's I, the Murloc, speaker of truths, eater of beef, and master of the panpipes. Inform anyone of that, and I'll have you flayed. Step forward, you foul-smelling one, and ask of me your question. If it does not please me, the floor will fall away beneath you, and you will meet a fiery end in what I like to call the fun house. Ask before I tire of your lack of speech.
Dear Murloc, I am re-rolling my character for the Burning Crusade and want to get into a good raiding guild for Karazhan and the like. What is the most desirable class, and why?
For any mere mortal, this will be an impossible question. However, for I, the Murloc, nothing is beyond my infinite wisdom. Due to class restructuring, Blizzard Entertainment announced some changes that you may be interested in. From this point on, everything is in fact a hunter weapon. This includes cloth plus damage gear, healing plate, and wands with more than 7 stamina. As such, a hunter is clearly the most useful class, able to fulfill the role of a main tank and healer simultaneously with very little loss in DPS. You may also wish to consider running a warrior, since I hear they have been buffed in every patch since launch. Logic dictates, therefore, by the degree of the Murloc, that by this point a warrior, if aided by a hunter's pet, can infect solo Nefarian. Sadly, druids have not been so lucky, and due to recent druid nerfs, the class has in fact been renamed Pet. Hunters will now be able to acquire their very own druid to feed, love, and cherish. The only healing spell that now affects druids is Mend Pet, and if they are not regularly fed with boar meat, they will run away, crying emo tears. Ha ha!
Ask the Murloc.
Dear Murloc, my arena team is struggling in the qualifiers. I'd like to know if you have any strategies or advice you could give to help us win more matches.
Ah, yes, I see. I in fact soloed a 5-man arena yesterday. Oh, how did I do that, you ask? Ah, 'tis a secret. Thou shalt never pry into the arcane ways of the Murloc. What? Money? Yes, give me lots of money. Ah, yes, the strategy. Well, in order to win the arena, simply construct a Cybran experimental robot and level the entire complex, including any surrounding civilian structures. However, you may find that the townspeople may not like this and will set about your robot with torches and pitchforks. And while it is capable of mass genocide, it may eventually fall to their combined arms. At which point I would suggest you use a hunter and cast Mend Pet on your druid, allowing it to survive the inevitable thermonuclear blast. At which point the druid will be able to DPS down any remaining opposition. However, due to recent patch nerfs, this will take approximately 3 weeks when raid buffed. What? More? No, you've wasted enough of my time, you piffling peasants. Get out before I cry havoc and let slip the dogs of war. What do you mean they escaped? Impounded? Inconceivable! Well, what about the dogs of minor border skirmish? The hounds of barroom brawl? The canines of small playground scuffle? All of them? No! Damn you, Sweden!
Ask the Murloc.
Good Lord in heaven, I have 4 minutes until I switch over and get Octail and Hordak on the air. Shout-out time, shout-outs right now. I have PMs abound. PMs abound indeed. Octail, are you there? You are there, Octail. Sorry, can you be more clear for our listeners? Are you in fact there, Octail?
Oh my goodness, I am here.
Yes, you are indeed here. You're going to be on air in 3 minutes, aren't you?
Couldn't be more clear than that.
Brilliant, fantastic. Right, shout-out time. Okay, let's get on with the shout-outs. Incoming shout-outs from Zop, who is shouting out to... He is indeed shouting out to Eternal Corpse Council, who are leaving Mazugo to go to Veknelesh. I sent an email, but I think I sent it to the wrong address. Indeed. Shout-out to the Nuclear Power Forums and tell Rick to get off his lazy ass and make the next Just Another Quest comic. That's some major blood. Giving a shout out to the Blade Order Ally Guild on Daggerspine EU. Brilliant. Say hi to Blue Plz from me. That's from Naga. My guild Blue Plz made of the win. A new racial for female touring. Create ice cold milk. What do Murlocs have against Sweden? Sweden is just evil. Shout out to Fade to Black on Card Guy US for having tons of 70s. I'm sure we'll be doing the 25-man soon, including the Temple of Doom, or whatever it's called. Temple of Doom. Indiana Jones is the final raid boss. That's from Saurian. Metallicut says, I want to give a shout out to T-Tut for dinging 54, Redhead Flame for dinging 61, and Shattered Halls EU. That's from Ganya. Can I get a shout out to Seren on Twisting Nether US? Apparently elves are not made of as much wind as gnomes. Indeed not. I'd like to request a shout out to all of Ye Olde Goon Squad on VentureCo EU, especially to the Chief Pastamancer Niris. Shout out to 3 people. Morton from Sunderland and his huge appetite for pie. A shout out to Lloyd, also from Sunderland, and his sailor friends. They disgust me. And last but not least, Tane from Hartlepool and his giant mole. That's from Squizzair EU. Let's see what else we've got in my email box of absolute total win. Pressing the button. Good God in heaven. You people, too many of you. Please give a shout out to Kittiar of Tullian EU, a long-time RL friend of the fool that introduced me to WoW, and has now run off to London for a brand new job. Enjoy. That's from Everlix, level 70 Priest of Teddy Bears of Doom on Shadow Song EU. A shout out goes to Gugid for having to reinstall WoW and be forced to listen to WoW Radio Cry. There was some guy, I can't remember what his name was. It was like Valentino or Valley something or other on Mazigo who was asking for a shout. I can't remember your name, but you're getting a shout out anyway. I hope you know who you are. A shout out to Furlish. Let's see. Yeah, Furlish and fellow members of Ashara on Dune Mall. That's from Furlish at Dune Mall. A shout out also must go apparently to me and the whole WoW Radio crew from Rasputin on Dark Sorrow EU, and a shout out to my new guild so what is that? Siverence. And of course a shout out to Akfanel, Undead Torin, Karagar, Azeron and his mighty gankers, and Dr. Ponage, now also known as Cliché, the mighty level 30 Belfodin. PS TB, your gear sucks. What's wrong with my gear? Just because I paid 150 DKP for the Gem of Nerubis does not make me a noob. The Gem of Nerubis, as it's called. A shout out to Xenia from Shadowhall EU for being as fluffy as a cookie. That's from Variel on Defiance Brotherhood. A special shout out to Dawes because he is German. Yes, he is German. A shout out to Fallen Legion Guild on Draenor EU, and that is all the time that I've got. Listen to the archives, check out the shows on WCRadio.com, subscribe to my podcast and all that good stuff. Missed any part of the show? Download the archive. You've been listening to Blue Plz. I've been TotalBiscuit. I'm about to collapse sideways on the floor in a drooling heap. Thank you for listening. Octel and Horde coming up right after this. Enjoy.